Good evening and happy Sunday to all. It is Watch Soup. I am your co-host, Bobby Legs, co-hosted with Clayton from the Watchdog podcast. Hey, Clayton, what's going on? How are you, buddy?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, doing
Yeah,
well. Happy to be here with you. No spoilers for WrestleMania, please. I didn't look online. If you go on Facebook or I'm on Twitter to follow sports and stuff. And yeah, I
yeah.
don't want any. Yeah, trying to avoid any and all spoilers. So
All right. Hey, what is the big match tonight?
So tonight is the main event is Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, and The Rock will be involved, and all kinds of shenanigans will ensue. So we'll
I
see
have
what happens. Yeah.
I have no idea who those people are. I mean, I know The Rock, but the other two that you named, I have no idea. I mean, Hulk Hogan was
Remember
the guy.
Dusty Rhodes?
Of course.
That's
Yeah.
his son, Cody Rhodes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Dusty Rhodes. Yeah, man. Dusty
yeah.
Rhodes is great. WCW, right? The down in the
NWA. He was
yeah,
the
yeah,
polka dots in WWE. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I remember Dusty Rhodes. Sure, sure. Ric Flair
Oh
and
yeah.
the Four Horsemen and all those guys down there, the Fabulous Freebirds, and yeah, yeah, yeah. That's my wrestling. That's the wrestling that I or 80s. I remember I was at my cousin's house and he had cable and he had the Madison Square Garden Network,
Mhm.
MSG, which still exists today, I think in some form. And I remember seeing like live Hulk Hogan beating Iron Sheik to win the championship. I think Iron Sheik had beat Bob Backlund like the month before to become like the champion of what was it, and then like Hulk Hogan, you know, big leg drop, you
Yep.
know.
Oh yeah.
I
Kick and
remember that.
the kick and the leg drop. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. Hey,
I met Bob Backlund. We went to WrestleMania. I guess it was 32 in Dallas at Jerry World there,
uh-huh.
that where the
Yeah,
Cowboys play.
yeah,
And we did the whole weekend. They do like access, which is autograph signing and everything.
yeah,
All the like legends and some current wrestlers just are signing autographs for they'll upcharge
yeah,
you to take a picture and all that. But we went to the Hall of Fame ceremony, which was where the Mavericks play. And
yeah.
my buddy and I just walked out, and all of a sudden we just bumped right into Bob Backlund as we turned the corner. It was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
hey, fellas," and we're like, "Hey," and
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah,
talked to him for a little bit. He's like, "You enjoy the show? I thought it was a great night." He was really nice. He talked to us for a couple of minutes. So
yeah, yeah.
I
That's
I
awesome.
was too young to miss his initial run, but he did come
Mhm,
back in the
mhm.
mid '90s in the WWE. He was kind of like a goofy,
Yeah.
didn't win a lot or anything, but I did not appreciate it at the time how big of a legend he actually
Oh,
was.
yeah. Oh,
But
yeah,
yeah,
for
he's
sure.
huge. Yep.
Yeah. Um, we could go down a rabbit hole with that. But anyway, hey, listen, what watch do you have on today?
I decided to go with the Moser Endeavor concept dial,
It's a
funky
great watch,
blue.
man.
Yeah,
It's a great
I
watch.
figured Moser released the Pioneer this week in
Yeah.
the concept in that what's that lime green or what's that citrus green? Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Oris Kermit green.
Oof, totally get that vibe. Totally
But
get that vibe.
it looks pretty good. That
Yeah.
loomed chapter ring's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. For sure. Hey, I got the Citizen Sayosa with the stamped. I
Nice.
guess it's like a stamped guilloche and small seconds. I mean, it's really awesome. It's really awesome for what I paid for, under $400.
Yeah.
I
Steel.
mean, and look, and the case back. I mean, like I mean, it's gonna be hard to tell here, um, but the rotor is kind of skeletonized, and
Mm,
that was a nice touch because sometimes they just throw like a rotor. It's like a plate.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And look, the movement. There's nothing to look at here. So they're gonna do it anyway, and then like quick release. For the bracelet, just a
They
lot
do
of
the extra things Seiko would never do at that price point. That's why I really
yeah.
love Citizen. They'll frame the date window. You don't get that on Seiko unless you're spending well over 1,000. Even then, you don't always get it. So yeah, it's nice. Citizen really just puts in some excellent craftsmanship, no
I think
matter
so.
how affordable the watches are.
Yeah, yeah, and they get that rep here in the States, and I mean, look, there's a lot of that's a lot of their library, but some of the high end stuff that we're getting starting to get privy to here
Oh, so
space.
excited.
I mean, you have,
Yep.
have pretty high end, and I had that very similar watch. Just great timepieces. Citizen, one of my favorite brands. I
Oh
have to
yeah,
admit.
me too. Yep.
Hey, let's say hello to people in the chat, and then we'll get started with the soup. Hey, there's Wilson. How you doing, Wilson? Mister Spirit checking in from Pittsburgh. Cowboy Swami, how you doing? Bruno, what is up? Um, hey, Wayman, good to see you, buddy. Homer, what is up, man?
Yes,
Good
fellow
to see
wrestling
you.
fan. Homer and
Yeah.
I talk wrestling all the time.
Yeah. Caliber is here. Good to see you. And Bizone, what is up? Good to see you. Hey, let's get started with the soup. And you're gonna kick it off today with
All
the
right.
Harrison Elmore 3 steps you must do before picking up your next watch. Avoid buyer's regret and whatnot. Go ahead, Clayton.
Yeah, I feel like this was good because a lot of my friends, I think you're there, I'm there, Sanjay, new man. We're a lot more picky and choosy about what we buy these days, but we certainly always weren't. I'll speak for
Mhm,
myself. I
mhm.
was not. Any new shiny watch that came across my computer screen or my phone screen, I bought.
Yeah.
So, he starts off habit, addiction, compulsion, right? That's pretty much the watch hobby in a
Mhm,
nutshell, right? It can be rewarding and enriching. We've met each other, we've met great friends through the hobby, but it can also be a time suck with little reward. Days, hours, weeks, months spent just going through Chrono 24, eBay, mindlessly scrolling. What's that called where you just mindlessly scroll on doom scrolling or whatever that's
Yeah,
called? Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
that's
think
what I
that's what
do
it
with
is.
watches. Yeah, all the time. He takes it a step further. He has lists and spreadsheets and databases about the watches he wants to buy, the watches he owns. He did that more in the early days. Now he has a better idea of what he wants and doesn't want. Uh, when we're in the early days, like I said, for me anyway, we want every new watch that's released or every classic watch, right? We want to check out a
Mhm,
Speedmaster, a Submariner, a blah 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 watch, whatever it might be. We want to wear each brand and get a feel for them, and all of that. It's valid, and it might last years. Some of us always have that buying and selling to check out the next new watch. A lot of us do
mhm.
that. I've slowed down on that a lot, but I know people who've been in the hobby longer than me who still buy and sell at a crazy rate. And that's cool. It's all about how we want to do the hobby and what makes us happy, right? That's become a
Yeah.
little stressful for me, especially as the market's kind of dried up a little bit, but to each their own.
Mm,
So these are Harrison's 3 simple steps to go about how you should decide if you want to buy a watch or not. Step one is to figure out that watch you're obsessing about that you can't stop considering, right? The watch that's been nagging you in your mind for weeks. You research it like crazy, and sometimes you watch the same video over and over and over. Guilty of doing that. Right now, for me, it's the new aerospace. I can't stop thinking about it. I get the next one my AD is getting, so I can't wait. Yep, but that's the one I'm sweet on these days. Watch infatuation, as Harrison puts it. You've seen reviews, but that doesn't always mean it's going to be the one for you, right? So it's an either or situation now. You go and see it if you can, right?
mm,
But a lot of us in certain parts of the country just can't go and see a watch whenever we want to. A lot of these are only available online, so there's no way you can see it in person. And a lot of us don't live near ADs, and even if we do, they may not have it. I tried to go to try on the new aerospace a couple weeks ago at the local Breitling AD, but they didn't have it yet. So I'm just buying it blindly and hoping it works. I think it'll work. Homer actually test drove it for me. We have similar size wrists. He was nice enough to do that. So thank you, Homer. Or you wait. If you can't try it on and you don't want to pull the trigger, you wait. And if you still love it after a month or two, that means it's probably, worth taking a gamble on because you can't get it out of your mind. A lot of us like all of these watches because they're new, right? Watches
mhm.
and wonders. We're going to see on Tuesday what Rolex release, what Tudor release. We're going to want all of them because they're the new hot watch, right? And a
Right.
lot of these we'll forget about in a couple weeks, but it's the one we don't forget about that we should maybe pursue. And if that's the case, then we move on to step two. And then all right, say you want a Speedmaster, right? Then you have to decide, do you want the Hesselite or the Sapphire? And you have to debate how you're going to wear it. Practical test, right? Step one is all about impulse and quick feelings. Step two is all about logic. If you work at a warehouse like where Harrison works, or what I do, dog running and walking, and the chance to like muck up your watch, you're probably going to want to go with the sapphire crystal because we all know the Hesalite
Mhm.
scratches quite easily, right? But if you're a purist who thinks that's the only Speedmaster, that's the one that went on the moon, the Hesalite, that's the one you should get the Heslite. If you're not going to be happy with the Sapphire and now they're expensive watches, you should buy the one that you really, really want. Tudor just came out with this pink version of their chronograph, right? If you feel a little frisky and you want to take a gamble on a pink watch, you want to go outside of your comfort zone, maybe you should buy a less expensive pink watch just to see if you think you can pull that off, right? Before you take the gamble and spend 5K, and also on a very thick watch too. And then we go to step three. Be honest with ourselves about how watches make us feel. Do you love the brand? Do you love the history? A lot of us are willing to put up with a lot from Seiko,
Mm.
with quality control issues because we love the history. We love all the iconic dive watches and other watches that they have, and quality control be damned. We're just gonna love Seiko anyway. Or Omega. Rolex has a lot of baggage too, right? But if we love the Submariner, if we love the marketing aspect of Rolex, then who cares what anyone else thinks? If the watches make me happy, who cares? Value. A lot of us think the better the deal, the more interested we might be in the watch, right? I may not love a watch, but if the deal's too good to pass up, I had to do it, right? But that's how I ended up going down the path of selling a lot of watches because I thought I was getting a good deal. I thought I wanted it, but really I just wanted it because I got a good deal. I
Yeah.
tried it out for a while and it didn't stick around. So, a good deal isn't always a valid reason to buy a watch. Just consider that. Maybe it is. Maybe you find a great deal on a watch you really want, but a lot of times the deal alone isn't enough to have it stick around in your collection. A brand is important, kind of like I said. If we believe in Rolex, Omega, Seiko, we're not going to be happy with substitutes, right? If I want an S&P 300 and I can't find one, but I see a Super Ocean for less, don't settle for the Super Ocean because you really want the Omega, and the Super Ocean, you're just going to take a hit on it if you decide to sell it. So just wait, don't settle, essentially, is what he's saying there. Um, and we can put, like I said, we put up with a lot of negative things from our favorite brands. Pete McConville just did a video where he talked about being a collector, and he doesn't care. He's a Breitling collector. He doesn't care if he can find better value or a watch has better specs. He likes Breitling, so
Mhm.
it doesn't matter to him if
Yeah.
he can find a better watch for less. It's not a Breitling, and that's what he likes. And then just he finishes up here. A lot of us fall into the trap of what Jeff McMahon has called like watch collection dysmorphia. We see other people's amazing collections on Instagram, on
Mm.
Discord, or whatever it is, and we think ours is a little bit less than. We think we don't have a proper watch collection because it might be missing a Rolex or a
Mhm.
Speedmaster or a high horology piece. But that's just not the case. Making it is a mindset. It's not a destination. Just make sure the watches that you have are watches that you love and you're not buying them for anyone else or to keep up with the Joneses or anything like that, right? I like this line Pete McConville says, and I'll end with that. Have a great watch collection, not a collection of great watches. Make sure they're meaningful to you. So, what'd you think of the video? Could you relate to any of this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Couldn't relate to this is all good advice. Very relatable. I feel like we probably have talked about this at
Right.
some of the steps, at some point or another in many other videos, and it's a recurring topic because it's on your mind and it's on my mind a lot,
Yep.
right? Trying to avoid making the same mistakes, and I feel like I make the same mistakes all the time. Let me diverge a little bit here and talk about another step that I think I need to is critical for me to help avoiding buyer's remorse and regret come the future, especially with watches that I have become immediately infatuated because I saw like an article or a video and whatnot. And what I'm going to try to do, right, from now on is to make sure if there's a watch that I am into, or I'm getting infatuated. I'm not talking about something like this, which is like a $300 watch, where I can get out of it pretty harmlessly if it doesn't work out. I'm gonna go try it on. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna buy a watch. I'm not gonna spend significant amount of money without trying a watch on, or having not have had tried it on in the past. And why is that, right? Well, if I feel like I'm seeing it in person, if I have it on wrist, I can make a decision right then and there
yeah,
whether this is going to be a good purchase for me or not. So if I'm going to go and buy that Geo Pano Reserve, I know which is a watch that is on my short list of watches that I want to get, and hopefully in the next like couple years I'll get it. I've already tried it on. I know it fits great on me, and
yeah,
I know I love it in person. So that's what I'm gonna try to do with any kind of significant purchase. Look, if Zinn comes out with a diver, with a brand like Zen, okay, and you know how much I love Zen. I know those specs, right? And I know even if it's maybe a new watch, a new model, they give me those specs. I know how that's going to fit, right? Because a lot of their watches are similar in that sense, where they kind of like to me, they all feel like they sit the same way on my wrist, and they wear very similarly. So that is like an exception, right, to this new rule that I'm placing on myself. But if it's a brand, if it's a model that is new to me, um, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And it's not that I've made terrible mistakes, but I think it's just a good way to to build in some pause, especially for a watch that I haven't seen in person, that I may be infatuated, that I may have to wait till the next time I see it in person to actually put it on and make a decision. So that's something that I'm gonna try to implement, especially with any kind of significant purchase. Under $500, I'll take my chances.
right.
How about you? How did you find any identification? Do you have something else that you're working on mentally about, trying to avoid the regret and the remorse?
Through buying a lot of watches that I didn't connect with right away. I'm really picky now.
Mhm.
Probably to a fault, but it has helped me. Like I haven't bought a watch since I bought the Citizen Chicken in January, going on 3 months here, and I wanted to buy several, but I look at the long game, and I just don't want to sell any more watches.
Oh yeah,
I just don't. It's not
I hear
fun.
ya.
It used to be fun.
Yeah.
It's just not fun for me anymore. And I just don't want to do that.
Mm.
I know like never make declarative statements. I don't want to buy anything that's not a keeper anymore. So I'm being
I
very
hear you.
careful. Now, will I never sell a watch again? Yeah, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm still a flipper at heart. But
Yeah.
I'm trying really hard to just, it's so much now that I have this like tight rotation that I want to buy a watch because I like to buy watches and it's fun. But
Mm,
then I think of once I get it, where will it sit in? And
mm,
maybe I don't want to like disrupt the rotation. So that
mm,
stopped me a lot. So,
mm.
I'm on this like, every 3 or 4 month kind of watch buying thing right now. And hopefully it'll extend out even further. But I really enjoy just kind of wearing what I have and obsessing about watches, but not buying them, which is
So
kind of fun.
so you're saying a small collection
I don't mind if
is
it
is
grows, but it has to grow at a slower pace.
yeah, yeah.
If I eventually have like 10 watches that I really love, that's cool. If it takes me a couple of years to get there though,
Mm, mhm,
if I binge buy this year and
yeah,
I buy like 6 watches in 2 months, I will not be happy. That's a
me
recipe
too.
for disaster and selling.
Yeah,
If I get 10 to 12 watches over the course of the next 3 years that I really love, I think that'll be okay,
yeah,
but it's all about just being patient and getting there.
absolutely.
It'll eventually happen if I keep buying because
Yeah.
I don't want to sell anymore. So,
Hey, Bruno says, "How about not buying a pink watch?" I like, and we're gonna talk about a list in your next video, but I'm obsessing over that Shunbun Grand Seiko.
yeah,
It's such a beautiful watch. I
they
know
do pink
Wayman has one.
very well.
They do.
I really like Grand Seiko pink dials.
Hey, Joey B, what's up? What's going on with you? Maison saying you can't get the 321 has the light speedy in the exact case type that went to the moon, so it's never going to be quite right. So go for the practical 3861 sapphire sandwich. Um, he also, he'd had Maison has had a lot of spreadsheets and things planning all my wants, but not being able to afford them at the time. I just burned all that out of my system and now have a select short list that I'm working through. Bruno, I stopped setting rules because I always break them anyway. Yeah,
Right.
fair enough, Bruno. Fair enough.
Yep.
Sounds good
I
to me.
I'm trying to stop doing that too, but the general rule of slowing down is, and that can mean a bunch of different things.
Mm,
I think I'll know what it means, but setting
mm.
set I did that earlier in the year, like, I'm not gonna buy a watch for 20 weeks. Well, that's I don't know if that's gonna happen or not, probably not, but just slowing down I can be happy with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, hey, let's move on to the next video, and that is the Urban Gentry overrated watches everyone loves to buy, loves, but we don't. Omega Seamaster, and I think Tudor was in also the title of the video. And so every once in a while, you see these videos where TGV and Mark from Long Island Watch get together in person and talk about some topics and whatnot. And hey, this one was about their most overrated watches that everyone loves. And Mark was up first, and his choice was the Omega Speedmaster. Now he has an Omega Speedmaster reduced, but he said all Omega Speedmasters, right? And he and he's got one, right? He's got a reduced, and he got it as a gift actually when he graduated high school. His parents bought it for him for turning up in the top 20 of his class, and he wore the thing to death. He didn't quite know what he had until he got it, and then he did some research on it and got into the history of the Speedmaster. But he says, I mean, like it's come and gone. And I mean, he has it in the collection because, I guess, because his parents bought it. But to him, it's just like another chronograph. He says that and he's mentions that people are going gaga goo goo over the white dial change, and he says that they seem to be able to go through a lot of iterations of the Speedmaster, and people seem to enjoy it. He just doesn't get it. He mentioned back in 2019 he went to Basel World and at the Omega booth, and it was just all Speedmaster all over the place, and he just couldn't grasp how they're able to keep this legacy alive with the Speedmaster. And then of course he kind of like draws some, and this was a little bit of digs, some parallels to Rolex, the same way that
Right.
Rolex kind of just goes to the well over and over again, not doing much changes though, and people just go nuts. Um, so he feels like that they're kind of like resting on their laurels, but they look, they make a lot of money there. Um, Here at this point, TGV tells Mark that he actually reached out to the community. I guess he may have done a community post or put something on Instagram asking, his followers, like, what are some of the most overrated watches that people love, but you think is overrated? And he said, hey, Speedmaster was one of them. They were in the top. Mark saying though that with all the Speedmasters, the exception for him, though, the one he really, really likes is the Snoopy doll version of the Speedmaster. He thinks it's just really, really cool having Snoopy on a dial and then on the back, with some sort of functionality with him like going, the rocket going across
Mhm.
the back of the dial. Um, but I mean, at this point, he's just like, well, it's just very tastefully done chrono, and that's how he sees it. Um, TGV, on the other hand, is tired of the Black Bay, and I totally get this. Although I have owned three Black Bay 58s, and I know you've owned some
Same.
Tudor,
Yep.
and I do like Tudor, but I have to agree. Um, there is some fatigue here with the Black Bay. I feel like it's just the Black Bay brand, at least here in the States. I know in other parts of the world some of their other catalog is very, very popular, but here it just seems like it's all about the Black Bay. And he actually got the burgundy bezel with a smiley dial, and he tried to like it, but it was just a lot of common complaints about the watch is too slab sided, right? Especially when and he had the one with the ETA. That's not as bad as the when they put in their in-house movement. That got really thick and very slab sided. Um, and it's just on his website. On the website, you go to Tudor, and it's just all Black Bay, all Black Bay. It's like, what happened to the North Flag, the Fast Rider, Black Shield, the Advisor? You know, I think
Yep.
the North Flag might be discontinued.
Those
Fast
are
Rider,
all discontinued. Yeah.
even the Advisor, because I know
Yeah, they
it's just
discontinued
recently
it
done
a
that.
year 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah,
Last year?
that
Yeah.
great alarm watch. Um,
Thick.
so yeah, yeah, and and one of his complaints, because he's a big fan of the old uh, snowflake diver from Tudor, was that he found it like incoherent meshing with the snowflake hand and the the round indices there, and he had mentioned that the Pelagos is what Black Bay should have been. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what the Black Bay should have looked like. Um, and you know, Mark's like, hey, look, Tudor doesn't really interest me. Doesn't interest him
He
at
seems
all.
to know very little about Tudor.
Yeah, yeah, seems to know, right, right. Um, and so it's a good exercise, right? Some of these most loved watches, and I think everybody's probably have an opinion. I certainly was of the camp up to maybe a few years ago that the Speedmaster was overrated. I didn't get the hype, and then I tried one on at the boutique again, right? The newer one, right?
Yep.
And then I tried a couple. I went to Colorado and happened to meet up with Rob Mount Sanatime, and he brought his a Speedy for me to take a look at, and I was like, oh man, I get it. I get it. I don't think this watch is overrated at all. Now, they've gone up market with the price. I mean, it's getting expensive. Like, 5, 6 years ago, the pricing on these were extremely reasonable. And now you're seeing $8,000, right, for a sapphire sandwich, a speedy moon watch. So the prices are getting a little bit up there. But yeah, I mean, and with TGV, I totally agree. There's so much Black Bay fatigue. It is a handsome watch. I do like them, but I'm a little bit done. I'm a little bit done with them.
Yeah.
I need some other other things to look at. And I think, and I was trying to rack my brain, for watches that everybody loves, that I think were overrated. And I couldn't come up. Well, I came up. I thought of a few, but really, I think they nailed it with Tudor and with the Speedmaster. Even though I don't think the Speedmaster is overrated, I think maybe it's overpriced. And the Tudor, yeah, I totally get it. Well, how'd you feel? Like, do you agree with these guys? Is there something? Did you think of a watch, a model that could be way overrated, but everybody loves?
Yeah, so I am known in some parts as a Speedmaster hater guy. I do agree with Mark. I think it's probably a watch I would call it one of the more overrated. It's just so these are all good watches, right?
Hmm.
They're
Hmm.
all amazing watches, and it just then it's subjective. I'm not into NASA. I'm not into space travel. So outside of that, that part doesn't appeal to me whatsoever. So ultimately, it's just a black chronograph. It just doesn't do it. I owned one.
Yeah.
Um, I just didn't do anything for me. I think it lasted like 2 months in my collection. I bought it because everybody says you should have a Speedmaster in your collection. Every
Mm,
true getting
mm,
back to the first one, every real collector should have a Speedmaster in their collection. I don't know. I just didn't connect with it. I didn't think the quality was awesome. I hated winding it. The winding was
mm,
not my favorite, and for a manual wind watch, that's kind of a big part.
mm, mm,
I just it didn't feel good. The crown was small. It fought you. I just didn't. And this was a 3861. It was the Hesselite, and yeah, I don't know. I just the edges were. I remember Oshin did that video about the sharp edges of the new model and the on the case and the bracelet. I found that to be true. Um, but I was going to say, for me, it's not necessarily a model, but a very popular type of watch, and GMTs. Um, I have no use for GMT. I don't travel internationally. I don't
yeah.
really know anybody who does. If they do, I Google what time zone they're in if I'm texting them. Like a lot of my clients will sometimes, but unless I'm setting it to Central, Mountain, or Pacific time, I'm gonna Google the time zone anyway, just to be sure. So why don't I just Google it? I don't enjoy reading time in the 24-hour format. So that kills
Yeah,
GMTs for me. I don't really like the way 24-hour bezels look. I really love bezels as fidget spinners, so I like the ratcheting dive
yeah,
bezel.
yeah,
Um, a GMT bezel that kind of bidirectional doesn't really do it for me in that sense. I do like an independent hour hand, for time
mhm,
changes and when I travel to a different time zone, like on my Citizen Chicken, the
yeah, yeah,
Citizen, like I have that really easy for that. So
yeah.
I like that part of them, and I guess a diver GMT would be cool as long as it still had like the Seikos with the diving bezel, but still the GMT functionality. But I don't need that. That's one thing that it's awesome that if you love GMTs, it's a good time to be alive. But that
Yeah.
I find no value in that complication personally.
Yeah, going more of a 30,000 foot picture. I would say, and I don't even know if this is overrated. I don't even know if it belongs to this conversation. But you said GMT with functionality, and for me, well, this is more of a pet peeve than I think overrated, man. Uh, Dive watch Kronos. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
There are
I,
some like Jason Heaton is he's a diver and he
mm,
loves the diver chrono, but yeah, to
yeah,
me, and even like screw down pushers seems a little I mean, really hard to kind of
yeah,
operate and
yeah.
tedious and yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, look, I mean, I like the Zen EZM 13 is a diver chrono that I would consider. But other than that, it's just like I don't get it. Hey, let's see what people are saying in the chat. Um, Bruno said, "I own the BB 41 Heritage, and it was thick. Could have used the side of the watch as a billboard." Caliber Spain Speedies have gotten really expensive. Actually, to clarify, all Omegas have gotten really expensive. Hobby Bobby agreeing with you, Clayton, 100%. The
Oh,
speedy winding
awful.
is tedious.
I was shocked that it was so bad. I
Mm.
I really did not like it.
Ms. Lund saying when I come to look at a speedy, I'll look at one first. The Met dial is practical, but there's a chance I might not like it. There's possibility the shiny lacquered white dial might suit me better. How do I say, Rob? You have to think about diver chronos as having a water use and a land use. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'd rather
Right,
just have a
you're not
diver
sold.
and a chrono. Not mix those two worlds. Like worlds colliding just
Yeah.
doesn't do it for me.
The funny
Um,
thing about the Speedmaster, I thought it was lame before I saw one in person. Then I saw one in person at the store and I liked it actually.
hmm hmm
But then owning it, I borderline just I wouldn't say I hated it, but it
mm,
did not last long. I just like, eh. So yeah, that was odd because I saw
yeah,
it in person and I liked it way more than I thought I would. But then owning it, I didn't love it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
That was a strange one.
Have you ever considered like a variation, like the oh, what's the not a dark side of the moon, but
Gray Side or
gray
something like
side.
that.
Yeah, gray side of it.
They're too big for me. I've tried them on. Like, I was very I
Mm,
like the original Dark Side of the Moon,
mhm,
but if I'm spending that's a lot of money,
yeah.
and, I just didn't love the way it wore.
Okay.
I mean, they're cool watches. I mean, the Dark
Yeah,
Side
yeah, yeah, for
that
sure.
that ori the original Dark Side of the Moon is still the one I would get, over that new one because it's just you can find them for relative deals compared to what that new one costs. But,
Mm,
yeah, I just think they're a little too big, and I don't like chronographs all that much either,
okay.
so
That's
yeah,
a huge part of it, right? Like if you're
yeah,
not into the chronos, right?
yeah,
Then you're only getting the speedy just to tick off like an icon, kind
yeah,
of
right.
like a checkbox in your collection. But I like chronos, and so does Bruno, and he loves his 1861. And if you have the cash, he'd start a speedy collection.
Nice.
There's a lot of people like that out there,
Yep.
Bruno. There's a lot of
Oh,
people who
yeah.
have speedy collections.
That's cool. Yeah, and again, these are awesome watches. I don't mean to, like, disparage anyone who loves the Speedy. It's just not for me.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the last video this evening. Talking timepieces with Tony. 10 watches at 10K or less. Take it away.
So, you ever watch this guy?
I've seen maybe a video or two of him
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Pretty opinionated guy, has a pretty killer collection. He has a very good relationship with his Rolex
Mm,
authorized dealer. He's in LA. He's a musician. So yeah, he does unboxings pretty frequently, and it's always a pretty heavy hitter Rolex. So yeah, he's a good guy. So yeah, this is just I just thought we, not going to dive into this too deep, but he goes over the top 10 watches at $10,000 or less. He doesn't put them he says he did not put them in any particular order, but we're going to.
mm,
We're going to pretend
yeah.
his order is his ranking. And then I thought maybe we could look at his list, you and I both, and see what we'd take out and
Mm,
add in to his
mhm,
list. So he starts at 10 with the Speedmaster.
mhm.
Don't really have to say too much about it. We've already talked about it in both videos already. Done
Yep.
to death. Yeah, so that's his 10th. Nine is the La Chute Originale Panomatic Lunar, a watch you said is on your short list, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
reserve
the
version. Yeah, not
reserve.
the
Yep.
lunar. Yeah.
Yep. This one it's probably right around 10K, maybe a little more. Maybe if you
Mhm.
shop around, we'll do pre-owned prices here too, just to
Sure.
cheat. Why not?
Yeah.
Uh, 8 Rolex Datejust 36, 41. I mean, you can get there are plenty of them that you can get under 10K if you can buy one. And then of course you can go up from there if you go, two-tone, whatever. But obviously robust, iconic. You can
Yep.
they're very dressy, but I mean, gosh, you can do anything you want with those. Swim,
Mm,
go through zombie apocalypse, whatever you want. 7, the JLC Master Control Date. You can buy these for about
mhm,
9,500. Really, just classy dress watch. They're very nice. 6, the S&P 300. Metis certified, coaxial, iconic design. The Bond watch, right?
mhm,
What's not to love? It's comparable to the sub for half the money. He likes the sub more, but gosh,
mhm,
you don't have the patience or the money to get a sub. The S&P 300 is
mm,
pretty widely thought of as probably the second best diver out there. Part Number 5, the Rolex OP. Any variation really is cool. You can get some pre-owned models that I think are a little more interesting, and at that 39 size, I think they're just right, but 36 or 41 in the modern iteration, $6,100. Number 4, Cartier Tank Louis. 3, Zenith Pilot. 2, the Cartier Santos, a watch again that we've talked about a lot. And number 1 is Submariner on his list. So, what do you think of his list, and what would kind of be your top 10? How would you
mm.
tweak his list?
Yeah, I mean, so, most of the pretty safe,
Yeah,
picks for the most part. Interesting that he threw in the JLC Master Controller Date. That's something that I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, nothing against that watch. That just, to me, for talking about top 10 for under 10, that wouldn't really enter my headspace. I
right.
mean, even if you give me like 50 guesses, I wouldn't put that on there. But that doesn't mean a bad thing. So let me just go through the list and see if I would keep it or not. I mean,
Sure.
Speedy, I would keep the Speedy. I would keep the Speedmaster in there, because of you know um, because of the history. Because it's iconic, and because I bet you would want one, and maybe a different variation than the Moon Watch, maybe like, or like a gray side. I think you can definitely get those under 10 for
Yep.
pre-owned, for cheating a little bit. The Pano Lunar, I would go Pano Reserve, and that's definitely under that. That might be just under $10,000 actually new. Um, DG Digest 3641. Yeah, I mean, like, it's sporty, it's dressy. I don't got a problem with that pick. Again, JLC Master Controller Date. I would take that out of there. Let me think about what I would replace that with. I'll come back to that. S&P 300, got no problem with that. I would add, because we're doing pre-owned, I would do the two-tone on the rubber strap, the Sedna gold with the blue dial. That's my little variation on that one. Rolex OP. Now, I've tried those on. Those things are so chintzy. Like,
Yeah, the
I mean,
clasp,
yeah, it's just that it's just like it felt like a paper, like nothing. It didn't feel like anything. So
right.
I'm gonna take that off. So I'll come back to the JLC. I'll put a star like that. I'll put a next to the Rolex. The tank, I mean, it's iconic. I could live with that in the collection. Zenith Pilot, nope. But I would do Zenith El Primero. Um, and there's so many variations under $10,000 that you can go with. Um, my watchmaker friends from back in the day said, "Get an El Primero movement, Rob. It is the master." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they were high up on that. Um, Cartier Santos, totally fine with that pick as
Yep.
well. So two Cartiers in it. Sub, yeah. I mean, I'm with you on the sub. Now going back to the JLC, I would throw in here. I would throw in here, because I'm a fan, a Panerai, some sort of Panerai Luminor, maybe like a base model Panerai
Yep.
Luminor, and I would go older. You know what I mean? If there's really no parameters on this discussion, I would go like, something with an ETA movement, something very similar to what I have with a PAM 176. Just a great watch. I love that watch. And the Rolex AP, I think I'm kind of short on. Well, I do have a tank that's dressy. Datejust is kind of sort of dressy. Reserve. Got divers here. I got only one chronograph. Yeah, how about a Navitimer?
Yeah.
How about a
Navitimer,
Bradley
great
Navitimer?
choice. Yep.
And that's how I would adjust. How about you?
Yeah, so I'll do the same thing. I'll go through his list. Speedmaster out of here. For me, like again, like I'm not
Yeah.
NASA guy, space guy. I would replace it with the Longines Big Eye Avigation,
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
titanium petroleum blue.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Way
Good
more
looking
interesting
watch.
watch to my eye. I've
Hmm.
tried it on. Yeah, so the other rule is watches you've tried on or
Hmm.
owned or tried on. Try to stick to that.
Hmm.
Obviously that's not probably going to work in all instances, but yeah, to me that watch is I love that watch. You can get it
Yeah.
for way the way Speedmaster prices are trending. I mean, you can get a really great Longines there and pocket some money. So the Geo you know what I'm crushing? It's not the same complication, but I'm kind of crushing on like I would try to find a Piaget Polo. I don't know
Mm.
why I'm
Yeah.
liking those
Yeah.
right now. They're a little
Yeah.
the K shape is interesting. It's not like a straight homage to it's an homage, but it's like not a, I'm okay with it.
It's a
Let's just say
little
that.
reminds you a little bit of
It's
Nos, but I
homage,
mean
yeah.
that's fine.
I'm okay with the
That's a good
level of
watch.
yeah,
Yeah.
homageness, I
I like
guess.
I like I like the polo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I would replace it. 8, the date just yeah, I don't know. There's a dress watch that I've always loved, Gerard Perregaux, the Orion 1966, the
Okay.
Aventurine. So
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would and you can find like the precious metal ones retail for more than 10, but you can find those for I know a site you guys like, European Watch. They had
Yeah.
one recently. I thought it was priced a little high. If Del Rey has them for really good prices when they get them, they've had a couple like in the 5 or 6 range.
Mhm.
That's where you want to buy them. I thought
Mm.
the European Watch Company had it pretty high. Actually, it was like 8 or 9. So I would replace the date just with that. I think, and with the GP logo kind of looks like a spaceship, and then with that aventurine dial, it
Yeah.
looks very like sci-fi in a
Yeah.
dress watch. It's a dressy, thinner watch, but I would still rock it because it does look like a spaceship going through outer space. Um, I was telling you off air, my wife works with a surgeon who has a JLC Geophysic, which looks pretty similar to except there's no numerals. It's just the indices. So I would go for that one. You can definitely find that for about 7 or 8K. So I would keep a JLC at number 7, but I'd go with the Geophysic instead of
Mm.
the master control date. SMP is up there
Out.
with my overrated. Out. I would replace that with the latest iteration of the Breitling Super Ocean. I think I know not everybody loves that. It's either a love it or hate it. I think it's a wacky design. It's based on the slow motion from the 60s or 70s. But I've seen them in person. The bezel action. It feels like such a premium watch. The bezel action rivals the sub, in my opinion. It's awesome. So for me, SMP's out, and those Super Oceans, you can if you find one pre-owned, you can like the SMP, you can get a
Mm.
great deal. Um, OP, yeah, yeah, I don't know. OP's out, I
Yeah.
think. I'd replace it with Explorer slash Air King.
Mm.
If
Yeah.
you're a
Yeah.
little
Good
more
pick.
conservative,
Yeah. Yeah.
Explorer. If you want to let your hair down, have some fun, your crazy uncle or something, Air King. That's what I have, and I love it.
Yeah.
I've
Good
owned
choice.
both, and
Yeah.
I love both. Cartier tank. I'd go for a Solar Beat if I could. I've asked my AD about them. She said They're still listed on Cartier's website. She said they've never seen one at all. Um, but I would try to hunt one of those down because I love quartz and they're kind of a mystery watch. So Solar Beat for me. Zenith I'm not a Zenith guy.
Yeah.
I would replace. I'd look into a high end Citizen, the
Mhm.
Citizen chronograph, or I'm sorry, Chronomaster. There's the automatic one. I forget the reference number right now, but with like the small seconds, that's also a watch I've been crushing on. So
Yeah,
I would
yeah, I
get
know
that.
which one you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Santos, I've owned two and sold them, but I still hold it in
Mhm.
very high regard. And then the Submariner is I didn't connect with it necessarily, but still probably the best watch I've ever owned, and I would include my Moser in that. The Sub's just awesome. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna make a quick addendum amendment to my. I'm gonna take out the tank and put in a Laureato. Okay, let's
Ah,
see
yeah.
what people are saying. Hey, Joey B, his for Speedy, the warning was terrible. The Mitsukoshi mod that he has winds like a dream.
Yeah.
Navitimers, more color options. If you could live with that busy, oh, I can live with it. Yes, the vintage style S&P 300 is nice, not the
Yeah.
300M. Pano Reserve for Caliber. Seamaster Heritage. Joy B saying, "Damn, Clayton, show us on the doll where Omega hurt you."
I've just never been impressed with any of them. I've owned like 7 or 8 Omegas, and man,
Uh,
it's not a brand I think I'm done. Just not a fan.
yeah, that's okay, man.
Unless they make something that blows my they just have nothing to offer for me right now, and that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
Yeah,
look. I mean, like that's okay. That's
yeah.
okay for sure.
I'm a
Hey,
I'm a little harsh, I feel bad sometimes.
no, no. Hey, I love your choices. I love your choices there. It surprised me with the GP there. The venturing down. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, I love that
Um,
watch.
but and like and I think that was a solid pick going with the instead of the OP going with why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to go with the Explorer or an Air King over the OP? I don't know. I mean, I know the OP
They
has like
feel
different
better than the
colors.
OP. Yeah.
Yeah, they totally feel, but I mean, to me, like I mean, I've wanted to get, I wanted to like the OP, and every time I go, that I've been to a boutique or an AD and tried one on, I'm like, nope, I can't do it. I can't do it. It just feels so chintzy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. I do like
the,
some of the 39 millimeter discontinued ones, like our friend, Hans Wilsdorf has that blue with, like, the neon green
the
indices, like
green
yeah, it's
that
really
looks
cool.
good,
That's nice.
but
The anthracite with the blue,
yeah,
like, those look they look
I'm
really nice.
they look good, but I'm telling you, like even those like 39s, like I tried, like this was like years ago. I tried a 39 on. It's just like, oh man, I wanted to like it. I wanted it to like it very badly. Um, well, hey man, great job this evening, Clayton. Taking on the two videos, really appreciate it. It'll
Yeah,
be my
yeah.
turn. Be my turn next week. Hey, chat. Good stuff this evening. Thank you so much for jumping in and tuning in on a WrestleMania Sunday night. I know Clayton's gonna get out of here, and we're gonna end this
Yeah.
early so Clayton can go and enjoy his WrestleMania. Anyway, Clayton,
Fall
thank you so
asleep
much.
through it, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, fall asleep. Yeah, totally, absolutely. Will you have some hot cocoa? Will you have some hot cocoa later on?
Yeah, I'll have some chamomile tea and, yeah. Actually, I
Nice.
might make some tea, that sounds good.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, buddy, man. Have a good one. Chat.
Alright.
Thanks.
Thank
Have
you,
a good night,
guys. I
and we'll
love
see you
Omega.
next.
Okay.
We'll see you guys next Sunday. Take care.